Ugh, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I really don't know. Should I say it again? Let's start again. Okay. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Cheryl. If you're new, welcome to the C Squad. Over here we do beauty, fashion, lifestyle vlogs, and a bunch of university content. So if you like the sound of that, then hit the subscribe button below, follow me on Instagram, and join the fam. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again. So a few weeks ago, I did a video all about computer science, pretty much just telling you guys about the kind of things that you'd be learning and, you know, what kind of jobs you can get with computer science and all that jazz. I did tell you guys that I would be doing a separate video where I run through all the courses that I studied at Wits in my first year of computer science, and that video has arrived. So I have some Wits related videos up on my channel, so be sure to check out my Wits Freshers Advice video and how to get into Wits University. But without further ado, let's get into this video. So just a little bit of a disclaimer, I was in first year in 2018, so it is very possible that the modules or the way that they test you or any of those things could have changed, and the teaching style as well could have changed. I would have loved to do a video on second year courses and third year courses at Wits. However, I only completed my first semester of second year because then I transferred to the University of Sussex. But if you guys would like me to run through maybe second year courses at University of Sussex, I would be happy to do that. I got my results yesterday and I passed second year, guys. I'm officially a final year student, so I can totally run through those second year courses for you guys. So I'm gonna be running you guys through some of the modules, and I'm gonna leave the computer science modules to the end because I know a lot of you guys probably just gonna want the computer science modules and not really care about the rest, but I think the rest are very much more important than the actual computer science modules, so you guys need to be prepared for what you're actually going to be learning. So a lot of people don't tell you that as a computer science student you are also a maths major. So if you don't like mathematics or you're not very good at it, I don't think you'd fare well with computer science at Wits. There is a very heavy maths presence, especially in second year. I think you do like 6 maths courses, so you kind of have to either enjoy it or be good at it. So in first year maths, you do Algebra 1 and Calculus 1, and these are both full year courses, which means that you write your exam. I think you actually write mid-year exams, and then you write final exams, which count more. So if you end up failing the course, then you have to repeat that entire year of that course, which is not fun. So throughout the video, I'll actually have the course description somewhere on the screen. They might only be there for a second or two because some of them are very long and I don't want them to cover my face for like 5 minutes. So I will read a bit of like what they say, but it will probably be somewhere on the screen, so you can just pause and read through it. So I'm gonna be reading off my phone just a little bit about Algebra 1, and so your course consists of real numbers, proof by mathematical induction, the binomial theory, vectors, linear equations, Gaussian elimination, matrices. That's kind of how your first year algebra course is. I will say the algebra course for me, I found it was kind of simple, like it wasn't really too bad, but I do think I got kind of cocky and I was like, oh well, it's fine, like I'm fine in algebra, so I don't really need to show up to class and all that stuff. So I'd go to the classes, but what I would find is that my lecturer would just kind of like read what was in the book, and I was like, okay, like the answers are in here anyway, so do I really need to come to class? So I would come for the first hour, no, was it? Yeah, the first like 45 minutes or whatever, and then I would go somewhere else for the last 45 minutes because I just thought, you know, but I probably should have gone to my lectures. Not that I did badly, but I think I could have gotten an A and I ended up getting a B because I kind of underestimated it. And then in Calculus 1, you cover integration, differentiation, series on convergence, a bunch of different functions, So yeah, I would say calculus was, well, I found calculus to be a lot harder than algebra. So I probably spent 70% of my time studying for calculus and maybe 30% of my time studying algebra, because I kind of thought, okay, algebra is easier and calculus is hard, I need to spend more time in it. And yeah, it worked out because I got an A in calculus, but as I said before, I probably could have gotten an A for algebra if I maybe evened out my times a little bit more. So another thing you should know is that in your final exam, you write calculus and algebra at the same time. So I think they give you like 2 hours or something, and then you spend like an hour on calculus and an hour on algebra. So if you're in high school right now, I would really recommend that you do AP Maths. I think it would just make your life so much easier. It made my life so much easier. So I have some things written down here, so if you see me looking down, that's why. But in algebra, you're gonna cover mathematical induction, complex numbers, Gaussian elimination, and matrices, and obviously you would have done that in matric. I would also recommend that you guys choose to do matrices and graph theory. I know you can do statistics, or there was another one, but I would recommend matrices and graph theory, because once you get those concepts down, you guys will see that most of your courses have something to do with matrices. Then for calculus, you cover limits, continuity, differentiability, integration, Riemann sums, which is all covered in AP Maths. So AP Maths is really great. If you are like going into grade 11 and you didn't do AP Maths in grade 10, try and see if maybe you can swap and do that instead, because I think it is really beneficial. Yes, you can do it when you get to university, but I think it just made my life easier that I didn't really have to go over certain concepts because I kind of already understood them, so I could study other things. Keep in mind that in university you do not get formula sheets, so all those integration and differentiation things of like sin x and cos x or whatever, you actually need to know that by head. And also, I don't believe we were allowed calculators in first year of maths. I'm pretty sure we weren't, so your arithmetic also has to be pretty good. Now, moving on to a course that I wish people had warned me about before I did computer science, Computational and Applied Mathematics 1. So if you decide to do it, just know that is probably going to be your hardest course. And also you have to do it for 2 years, and it's a full year course. So basically you do 4 different modules and you kind of have to pass all of them, or I think it was at least 3 of them. I don't know how they do the maths, but you have to pretty much pass all of them in order to advance into the next year. So if you fail one of the modules, you fail 2 of the modules, you don't just get to repeat those 2 modules, you have to repeat the entire year's course. So the reason why I said if you decide to do it is because I know a few people in my year who actually got around doing computational and applied mathematics, from my understanding of which I don't really understand it that well. So basically, when you do computational applied maths, your degree at the end will say something like, did a BSc computer science with something something or something. And then I think when you don't do computational applied mathematics, it just kind of changes your degree a little bit. So it might say like a BSc general with computer science or something like that. So it's like a very slight difference. I don't even think it really is that deep. So you could, if you really hate computational applied maths, you probably could find a way to do another course. So you'd have to do another course for 2 years. So the computational applied mathematics description is very, very long, so it will be somewhere on the screen. So basically you take 4 courses, which are optimization, numerical analysis, modeling, and mechanics. So optimization has a lot to do with linear programming, so you will be using matrices. And the interesting thing about this is that you most likely wouldn't have learned matrices yet in algebra. So it was like kind of a shock on like our first day when, well, I wasn't shocked because I did AP Maths, but it was kind of a shock when, you know, the lecturer is writing down like these matrices and basically doing like Gaussian elimination and like all these arithmetic things with the matrices, and some people were very confused. So either if you're not doing AP Maths, just kind of look over matrices, especially Gaussian elimination, and just like watch YouTube videos about it, just so that you have like a fair understanding about it. We also used MATLAB to code our linear programming problems, and I kind of hate MATLAB now. I think I had a very bad experience with it, such that whenever I see like MATLAB or I see someone using it, I'm just like, ugh, yeah, not for me. Basically what happened is, I think we had like 2 weeks of like orientation where we just kind of learned the basics of MATLAB, but mind you, it was probably like 2 Fridays in that week, so it was probably like 2 hours, and they kind of just ran through like if statements and loops and you know, like that kind of stuff that's like not really that complicated. But also mind you, you probably also haven't learned these concepts in your computer science courses, so you're kind of learning it simultaneously, and obviously it's a different programming language, the syntax is different. It was just a mess for me, honestly. And when we had our first lab for chem, they gave us some thing to do that I was just like the first lab was so difficult and so tragic, and we were all very, very confused, and most of my labs were like that for that semester. It was just a lot. It's basically like telling somebody who's never coded in MATLAB or who only knows simple things like loops and all that stuff, and you're telling them to do Gaussian elimination on MATLAB. Anyway, I hope they've changed that, and hopefully you guys will have a better experience, but if they haven't, I would suggest that you learn MATLAB. You guys have like the December holidays and all that jazz. You guys have quarantine, so if you're thinking of doing computer science next year, sit and do some MATLAB. It will save you time. So you do optimization 1 in your first semester, and you also do that with numerical analysis. So you'll have like different lectures for each like module. So it'll be like, I don't know, you'll have like 2 lectures that week, and one of them will be for optimization, one of them will be for numerical analysis. So that's how they divide it up. So with numerical analysis, it was basically solving mathematical problems using, guess what it is? MATLAB. So you guys really need to know MATLAB. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I was actually researching for this video, I was looking at the CAM courses and I was like, I don't remember doing this course. Like, I have a very vague memory of numerical analysis. All I know is that we had coded some type of like mathematical problems, but those kind of things where when I'm given like an input or something, like let's say my code is addition and I've got x plus y. The idea is my lecturer is supposed to give me the numbers, so he gives me 2 and 3 and it's supposed to output 5. Obviously it's not as simple, it's a more advanced program, but essentially you just have the basis of a program with different variables, and then in your exam they give you different numbers to put into your code so that it outputs the right number. So then what we did is we had coded our programs on the side, and then we were allowed to bring our code into the lab for our test. And so they just give you like literally random input numbers, and it's just like a tiny little like line where they give you some numbers and then you have to write down the answer. So it's not one of those things where you can sit and calculate it, because if you sit and calculate it, it's probably going to take you 30 minutes to sit and do it manually. So your code actually needs to work. So I know a lot of people who just like shared code and all that jazz, but I'm a good student, I didn't do that. I just used my own code and I ended up passing, but it's a very interesting course. Now in your second semester, you do modeling and mechanics. Second semester is, in my opinion, a lot more challenging than first semester. So if you're already failing your first semester modules for CAM, then I think you will find that second semester is a lot more challenging. So with mathematical modeling, I don't even know how I would describe it to you guys. I'm just gonna put the definition somewhere. But you basically do differential and difference equations, and you use Mathematica, which is another programming software. I think it is much easier than MATLAB. I enjoyed Mathematica a lot more. I think the number one thing with modeling is to definitely do your tutorials, get as much practice as you can. Like, that is really what you need to do. And if there are any points in time where you get stuck, go to your lecturer. I think I've said this in my first freshers advice, but consultations will save your life. The mechanics was the hardest module for me in first year. It focuses a lot on physics and astronomy, and I didn't do science in high school. I did it up until grade 9, and that was it. Like, I'm not very good at science, so it was a really challenging course for me. I think I mentioned this in my how to study effectively video, but basically I had to like sit and just watch YouTube videos about very basic concepts, which I'm sure someone in high school knows, but like I didn't know it. And I'll actually link down the video for you guys below. The one that really helped me, it was 2 hours long, and I literally just sat doing all the examples and all that stuff. I'd actually failed my test for mechanics. I think it was like a month before we wrote our exam, and it was the first test that I ever failed in university. So like I was freaking out, and so I ended up like watching that whole video and a few others, but I can't really remember them, and I ended up passing the course. Yeah, also do your tutorials for mechanics. It's very important. Actually, just do your tutorials in general. Do it for all your subjects. Tutorials are very important. Then as a computer science student, you're also allowed to pick just an additional level 1 course. I think it can be anything, but when I went for registration, I was only given 4 options, which were physics, chemistry, economics, and psychology. And I picked psychology, and I would advise you to pick psychology as well. I know a lot of people were like, okay, but that doesn't relate to your degree at all. And no, it doesn't. And I know a lot of people chose economics because I guess it would make more sense or something like that. But realistically, when employers are looking at your transcript, they're not really looking at your first year modules. And also I found that a lot of people who did economics or physics or like one of the harder ones ended up spending a lot of time doing that subject, and at the end of the day it's not one of your core subjects. You just really need it for the credits. So that's why I ended up just doing psychology, because I knew I was gonna pass it, and I also knew that it wasn't gonna take away time from my other subjects that I actually needed to do in the following years. Then lastly, we've got your computer science modules. If you guys have not seen my all about computer science video, it will be linked down below. So in the first semester, you do basic computer organization and introduction to algorithms and programming. So basic computer organization covers binary numbers, gates and circuits, low-level programming, and operating systems. I actually ended up doing an operating systems course in second year at University of Sussex, so the things that I learned in basic computer organization actually really helped. For me, I found that the things that you learn in the beginning are pretty basic and pretty simple, and then it does get a little bit more challenging towards the end, but I still think it's probably not going to be like one of your hardest courses. Also in this course, our tests were computer based, which I guess you'd be like, yeah, it's computer science or whatever, so it's going to be computer based. But in a lot of other courses, what they usually do is they have you do like a written test where they actually test you on your knowledge, and then they have you do like a programming test, you get what I mean? Whereas in basic computer organization, your written questions were also computer based. Then I also mentioned introduction to algorithms and programming, which was my favorite course in my first year, probably because it was the easier course than, you know, a lot of the others that came on. So it covers the basics like for loops and arrays and if statements and all that jazz. As I mentioned in my all about computer science video, that they do kind of go over the basics a little bit faster, so it will be easier for you if you did IT. In this course we used C++, so it might be beneficial to get used to the syntax of C++ if you're used to coding in Java. So while it did cover the basics, it also went into a little bit more challenging concepts like parameters, array allocation, pointer arithmetic. Here's one thing about this course: there will be a lot of labs. So usually you'll have like a day. I know our labs were on Thursday, and so you have a lab from 2 until 5. And in those 3 hours, you might have like 3 or 4 different things to code. And you know, if you're stuck on something, it you may not finish them in the 3 hours, and for most of them I did not finish them in the 3 hours and I had to do them at home. So there are a lot of labs and they only count 2% towards your final grade. And so I know a lot of people who just thought, okay, I'm just not gonna do the labs, they don't even count. But like if you do the labs, you are basically set up for the exam. Your exams or your tests are gonna be pretty similar to your labs. So as far as testing goes, they'll ask you like a couple of problem solving kind of questions. So one of them might be calculate the number of vowels in the sentence, and they'll like give you an input sentence and it's supposed to calculate the number of vowels in it. We had one where you had to confirm whether a word was a palindrome. And if you don't know, a palindrome is a word that is spelled the same way forwards and backwards. So like race car or refer or something like that. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on that one in my test. Then in semester 2, you do discrete computational structures and introduction to data structures and algorithms. So discrete computational structures focuses on sets, logic, mathematical induction, finite automata, which we actually covered in my second year course at University of Sussex, so you actually really need to know that for the future. I would say the concepts are fairly understandable in class. I will say the tutorials can be a little bit more challenging. My number one tip would be don't rely on your notes and actually go to class. I'm not sure if the same lecturer is still teaching that course, but basically it was one of the only subjects that I had where they would upload like your notes and stuff. So like the notes were all on Sakai and all the tutorial solutions were all there. So it's like a lot of people stopped going to tutorials because they already had the answers, or stopped going to lectures because they already had the notes and all that stuff. And I think it is valuable to be in class so that if you're not understanding something, you can ask a question and you can also take your own notes and add to the notes. So that's my recommendation. If you do well in discrete computational structures, or at least you have a good understanding of it, it really will help in second year because you're gonna do a course called Transition to Abstract Mathematics, and that literally has so many concepts from discrete computational structures. So definitely be sure to save your notes because I referred back to them whenever I had assignments for Transition to Abstract Mathematics. Then you also do Introduction to Data Structures and Algorithms. I'm not gonna lie, I really hated it in the beginning. I was just like, I just really found it like really challenging in the beginning, but when I actually got to the exam, I felt really like confident. Like it was one of those exams where I was like, I know I'm gonna pass kind of thing. So you use C++ once again, and you're gonna cover things like linked lists, stacks, queues, binary search trees, which all come up, well at least they came up at University of Sussex, so it is valuable to know them. I would say the number one thing when it comes to studying for this particular exam is to understand the concepts. So a lot of the time we would sit and we would kind of like draw out, you guys will understand when you do it, but you will sit and you'll kind of draw out what is supposed to happen and then code it. So it really helps if you have a good understanding of it, because then you don't have to memorize code, which I know a lot of people tried to do and they went blank in the exam. So you really want to understand the concepts, have good knowledge about the coding aspect, and then just kind of combine that, and yeah, you should be able to pass that course. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you need any more tips, refer back to the All About Computer Science video and the How to Study Effectively. You can also drop some comments down below, and if anybody is currently doing computer science at Wits, offer some advice, you know what I mean? Because I obviously only did like a year and a half. So offer some advice, chat in the comments, and yeah, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join the C Squad, and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. I post every Wednesday and Sunday at 5 p.m. London time. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!